I haven't spoken to you I guess a year. I guess a year since the last time.
Has it been a year? Wow.
I think it's actually been a little more than a year.
Okay.
But
I don't
over a
know.
year since the last time.
It all goes pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Did you have a good year down at your clinic?
Amazing.
You had a
Yeah.
lot of growth this year.
Well, we've been operating at pretty close to full for most of the last 22 and a half years. We're not adding any more rooms. I don't want to take on more people. Maybe there's a tiny incrementally more busy, perhaps. But yeah, there were some. In fact, we redid our website some 6 or 8 months ago, and that's definitely had a positive impact. Honestly, I'm having trouble keeping up with the influx of applications now on my own. So
Fantastic. So just to remind everyone that maybe is watching that is maybe not familiar with you and what you're doing and where you are, and kind of share a little bit about your space, please, Lauren.
yeah, sure. So for the last 22 and a half years, coming up on 23, I've run the Tanglewood Wellness Center, which is the world's largest dedicated water-only fasting center. I fasted thousands of people for an average of 26 days for the last nearly 23 years, and we see amazing things happen. We're located in Costa Rica, in the Guanacaste province, northwestern Costa Rica on the Nicoya Peninsula. It's spectacularly beautiful here, and it's unusual to see me in this is like a t-shirt weight sweatshirt. It's a little heavier than a t-shirt, but this is the rainiest time of the year. And when there's a tropical storm in the Caribbean, which is only about 100 miles from here, we feel it here. So it's been raining a lot the last few days. We have a 7-month rainy season, but usually it's sunny every morning and then rains in the afternoon. And out of the last 4 days, it's probably rained 3 mornings, which is not typical.
Wow.
It's a little cooler than usual, but usually it's beautiful here every day.
I mean, you're in Costa Rica. I've been to Costa Rica, and I know that is just a glorious place. I love Costa Rica, 100% beautiful place. I love the whole of country's philosophy, just the way that the society is brought up in a certain way, that there's education for everyone. Everyone is well educated. Everyone is got that university.
Almost everyone has a decent home. I lived in Panama for 6 years, and we had employees that lived in shacks and didn't have power. And here, if you have a little piece of land, the government will guarantee you enough money to build a tiny home. So everyone has a decent home, running water, power. I'm not sure those things are as advantageous as we think they are, perhaps, but they certainly make life easier. The country, someone asked me the other day, a new client, if we had solar panels here, and we don't, but 100% of the power we buy from the national power company is renewable energy. 100%. Solar, wind, hydro.
What a magnificent country, and I like how you don't designate dollars to the army. That's the big thing, that there's no army, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's no army. That's right. Yes. They closed all zoos a few years ago. New law: no more animals in captivity. They were one of the first countries to ban single-use plastic. What else? There's a lot of really forward-thinking.
Yes,
things.
It's a very forward-thinking country.
There's still some issues, and unfortunately, one of the problems here is that they still look to the U.S. and other Western countries in terms of the medical system, and so they're actually talking about making vaccines mandatory, which it hasn't been an issue until now.
No. So
yeah,
they're following
I'm hoping
that old model there.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully this is something, where maybe they're open enough to be swayed. I really believe they're interested in the welfare of the people. And, what minor things, it's just the mentality is so different here. If you've spent much time in Central America, if you drive through most Central American countries, even some South American countries, there's garbage everywhere. People just throw the garbage out their car windows. Here, it's really, really rare to see that. Most people, they care for the environment in a way that you don't seem to see in most other countries. It's like, that's, of course there's exceptions, but here the rule is people are environmentally minded, where in other places that might be the exception.
Nice. Yeah. So you're living in a real luxurious lap of luxury type of country and place, a very forward-thinking part of the world. It's a blue zone. It's very healthy place to be, and it's a great location to have. What you have is the largest fasting
largest dedicated water fasting center. So in California,
water fasting center in the world.
That's right. The dedicated. Wow. So in Fantastic. California, there's a place called True North where they fast people, water fast. But most of the people that go there are drinking juices, which, as you may recall, is something I don't really recommend doing. Or they actually come there to eat a cooked vegan diet because somehow they can't manage that at home on their own. Animal products keep jumping in their mouths unless they go somewhere else to do it. So, it seems kind of odd to me that in today's world, you'd need to go somewhere to do that where it's become so easy to do. But here, what we do, what we focus on, what we've done for 22 and a half years is water fasting. And we have amazing results consistently, amazing experiences. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're interested in talking to me about the other project that we're working on.
Oh, you've got another project going on. Yes, I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. It's, what we do here, it's amazing. It's mind blowing. And honestly, I understand there are some people that are going to resonate with me or with you, and some people aren't. That's fine. For anyone that doesn't resonate with me or doesn't like me for whatever reason, find a fasting center or supervisor that you trust and go through a supervised water fast, because it makes all the difference in the world actually knowing what you're doing. Honestly, I don't think there's any place you can go that offers what we do, because there's no place that comes from the same perspective. 28 years raw vegan. I fasted dozens of times myself. I have experience that most other fasting supervisors don't have. And we, like most places, they're still sort of following a typical medical paradigm, which means they're invasive. And they, if your vital signs are outside the normal range, your fast is over. Where that's actually what needs to happen to get the most benefit. But you need to understand what's going on and what's safe and what's not. So we have an excellent safety record. Of course, having fasted thousands of people, and we take people who have been told they're going to die in weeks. Some people may not survive. Most places don't even take those people, but we're here to help people that want to get well. So this other what we're doing here, we're now impacting hundreds of people a year. That's it. Our clients are here on average of 5 weeks. We're only open 30 weeks a year now. We used to be open all the time. I work 5 a.m. until 10 or 11 p.m. almost every day, and that's 10 weeks in a row. And then we now close because I need a break. We close. I travel and speak. I go down from 16 to about 6 hours a day, and that's my vacation. I only work 6 hours a day when I'm on vacation. So what I was looking to do was find a way to be even more impactful, and there was some selfish reasons too. I mean, part of what this other project, I'm a bit of a lone wolf, so I really don't need people around me that believe in me or understand what I'm doing. I'm okay. You can believe whatever you want. It doesn't sway me. I'm going to do what I know is right for myself. But
wonderful. And I think that's the way that people need to live their lives. Too many people are being influenced by what the world is saying around them. Sure.
It's a lot more empowered that way, for sure. But in any case, still, even though that's true, and I've been fine for nearly 30 years doing this, surrounded by people that really don't understand most of the time, how cool would it be to live in harmony with other people in a community of people who get it and who are all committed to their health and vitality, and who want to live gently on the land, and who believe in love, who believe in peace. I was just responding to comments on a video from a guy, believing the party line, the line that's been promulgated by the meat and dairy industries, that we need heavy protein and therefore can't subsist on simply plants, when of course that's absurd. and there's tons of evidence that that's the case. But in any case, I wanted to create a place where I could live surrounded by like-minded people. And so this project, part of it is an intentional raw vegan community. That's part of what we're doing. That's not the complete thing. But one part of it is a community which will exist up to 100 households on a large piece of land. I can't say how large because I don't yet know exactly which parcels will be included in the community and which will be set aside for other things. Let me explain. The project is much bigger. So, for me, John, one of the things I've been doing now, I've been traveling and speaking for over 20 years. I used to write for various magazines. I've got a children's book. The idea with that was find a way to reach children before they've got all these years and decades of bad habits. And so that book is being illustrated now. Hopefully will be ready for publication within a year. I'm working on, I'm about 90% done, a book for adults, more serious book on health, and there'll be others to follow. Part of what I've always done, my mission has been to help spread the word, let people know. As I think you may recall from our last conversation, it's changed. It's another year now, but I'm now 32 plus years without being a day sick.
Amazing.
I'm 58. I wear the same size clothes I wore when I was 18. I'm still just as strong and fit. I'm actually healthier now. I can do things now I couldn't do at 18. And there's no reason for us to decline the way we do. I don't take any drugs. I've taken 2 ibuprofen in over 30 years. That's it. That's after breaking a hip and not being able to sleep 4 nights in a row. I was in so much pain. And I took one night just to allow me to sleep. I took one another night to allow me to sleep, and then I threw the rest in the trash can.
Okay, so let me just corner you there for a second. You healed your broken hip, and your method of healing your broken hip was what?
Water-only fasting.
Water fasting is how you healed your hip. So,
yeah.
I think we can be in agreement that, if the body is left alone and emptied, that the body naturally heals. Would you?
Well, that's right. Absolutely. In fact, what's really important to understand, I mean, again, it's frustrating in today's world to see people continuing to put the credit somewhere else. For instance, people talking about being healed by herbs or being healed by distilled water, being healed by anything. The simple fact is that healing is a biological process. So the organism always heals itself. The very best we can do, in my opinion, is to get out of the body's way as effectively as possible. And that's what happens when we fast correctly. We're letting the body
the organism heals itself.
Exactly.
It's just what happens as long as there's nothing inside the body, mind, life that's interfering with the healing process.
Exactly. And most people, if you're eating a conventional diet, there's very little chance your body's going to be able to heal from most things because, aside from minor issues, but serious issues aren't likely to heal if you're eating a conventional diet, because a conventional diet is toxic to the body and is taxing the body every single day. So if you're eating an optimal diet, those people who eat the physiologically appropriate diet, my opinion is that's only fruit and soft, tender leafy greens. And that's what I've been doing now for 28 years. Anyone who's eating that diet, there's a much better chance that their body can heal even from serious issues while still eating. But the best way to allow the body to heal is to stop eating, because processing food takes so much energy. And so, again, if you think about this, when you were a child, when all of us were children, when we got sick, we didn't want to eat. We lost our appetite. Now, our mothers probably made us eat. We've now spent so many years overriding this natural instinct that we no longer even notice it. We just eat, as we always do, no matter what's happening. But if you look at nature, where there are estimated to be 25 million animal species, virtually every one of them will lie down and stop eating when sick enough or badly enough injured. Okay, so fasting is simply the best way when done properly, when done correctly. It's the best way to get out of the body's way so the body can cleanse and heal itself. And what we've done here, I think, is amazing. And I'm proud of the work we've done. I hear from people all the time that we've changed their lives, saved their lives, Amazing transformations happen here all the time. We literally see things that medicine says are miraculous because they can't happen. And we see them happening as a matter of course, at least a dozen times per year. Not everyone who comes here is in such a situation where they need a miracle, but we often see them where they're necessary. But the big project that I wanted to share with you today, it's really taking it to a new level because, again, I'm limited here. Even if we were to work all the time like we used to never close. And if we worked 52 weeks a year, we'd still be limited to hundreds of people a year, given the fact that our clients are with us an average of 5 weeks. If you go to a place like True North where the average person spends 1 or 2 weeks, yeah, they can see a lot more people. They're not going to see anywhere near the same kind of impact with a fast of that length, especially the way they do it. But here, we're limited to the number of people we see. I wanted to create something that was much bigger, not for fasting, but for educating people. And I think there's some serious issues. I know there are people who believe that our behavior hasn't negatively affected the climate, that this is all natural course, this is just the natural order of things, there are changes. That may be the case, but whatever's going on, we are certainly having a negative impact by polluting the planet, by destroying natural resources. I'm sure you're aware that the Amazon, the loss of that forest is a huge problem because the oxygen that we breathe is created by forests, primarily the tropical forests. And as we lose this land, and this land is being lost on purpose, in order to create pasture to grow more beef cattle. That's what's going on. And it's shameful and it's incredibly misguided. But, the same thing happened in Central America 50 or 60 years ago. Every country denuded all the Pacific slopes from, I'm not sure, probably as far north as Mexico, all the way down through Panama. They cut all the trees down to plant grass, thinking that this was going to be their economic salvation, growing beef for North America. Of course, it didn't work out so well. And Costa Rica was one of the first countries that said, okay, this was a bad idea. And they started incentivizing people to plant trees again. But we have a problem. There is a consortium of scientists, serious scientists, who are saying that at the rate that we're currently losing 200 species per day are going extinct. 200 per day. And at the rate that we're currently losing species, there will be no animals left in nature in 40 years. They'll all be gone. And if that happens, we probably don't have much longer to live on this planet either. And so I think it's important to do something to show people just how important it is that we protect the environment and actually create a model of how we can live on the planet in a way that's not harmful to it. And so everything we've done here is based on permaculture principles, which are actually regenerative. We're not only not harming the environment by the way we live here, we're actually improving it. We're taking land that had been used for various purposes, including growing coffee, growing oranges, growing vegetables, in ways that are, generally speaking, not really sustainable, and creating a much healthier model for the environment, creating more habitat, planting more trees, eliminating pasture, etc. And this big project is going to be this intentional community. An intentional community, what that means is people have come together for a specific reason because they share a philosophy, they share ideals, they share choices or a way of living. Intentional communities can be set up around all kinds of things. This will be intended for people who are committed to their own health and vitality, and really beyond that, to maximizing their potential. I personally I believe everyone has genius, but I don't believe it's possible to manifest that genius if you're not taking the best care of your physical body and mind, because it's all interconnected. So this big project is going to be an intentional community, but right across the road, we have, I currently have 17 or 18 separate pieces of land, mostly contiguous land, all in the same area, under contract. It totals about 2,000 acres today. And I'm hoping to sign 3 more contracts in the next week, although we'll see what happens. The goal is to protect an entire valley and to turn most of it into a nature preserve developing only what we need to make it sustainable. And what I mean is, I don't know about you, but I don't have millions of dollars at my disposal. I've got a couple $100 at my disposal. But in order to protect this land, we need to find people who are willing to invest millions of dollars to purchase the land so we can protect it. Most of those people are looking for a return on their money. So there will be some development to create a return, because otherwise we're not going to get the money to protect the land. But the idea is to create something that's actually good for the planet, that educates people. And so we have this nature preserve, which by the way, it's a pretty cool site. I mean, there's tons of beautiful land here that you could protect. In fact, Costa Rica already protects something like 60% of the landmass is protected. But given that we're losing tons of land right now in the Amazon, given that in general the environment is declining in health and decaying, I think it's important that we preserve anything we can. In this particular piece, because it's going to be an amazing site to show people just how valuable the land is. In order to show people, you have to get them there. If you could buy all the land in the world but nobody ever saw it because they're in their cities on their screens, it wouldn't really have much impact, right? What we want to do is actually show people what's happening and show people why it's important and get them on the land, get them to fall in love with being in nature. Because so many, I mean, it's crazy. There are children growing up here in Costa Rica and the villages around me that don't really know what the forest looks like. In fact, on this piece of land, we have the highest waterfall in Central America. Most people don't even know it exists. Of the 15 people who were employed here, one of them has ever been there. And they all grew up within a mile of it, or two at the most. And yet most people have never seen it. There's no easy access right now. We have to create that. But it's crazy that children are growing up today that have never seen some of the amazing species that live around them in nature, and they don't know what these amazing resources are. So because we have this waterfall and about 15 more on the site, it won't be very difficult to get the nature-oriented tourist, that's mostly who comes to Costa Rica. It won't be very difficult to get people to come to the site, because we're going to have this big nature preserve with 15 or 16 waterfalls on it. That's pretty spectacular.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to prepare this place that is actually going to have a great deal of attractional value once it's properly developed.
Right.
Ideally developed.
Well, and for the most part, the nature preserve itself will require little development. We will need to put a road in. Right now, the only way to get to the falls is a 3-kilometer hike. And I've gone with people who couldn't get back up. Everyone can go down because you have to hike down to get there. But going back up is, people that aren't in very good shape have a tough time. So we're going to create a road, and we're going to create a fleet, a 2 or 3, whatever we need. I'm not sure if there'll be electric vehicles or diesel, biodiesel vehicles, but something that's not harmful, that's not reliant on petroleum. We'll create a way to move people back and forth in a way that's not, and no other
shuttle
vehicles will be allowed.
service of some kind, some sort of touring
Exactly.
sort of situation.
Exactly. So people who arrive here will park right off of the road, and they won't be allowed to drive onto the property except there. And then we'll provide them shuttle service, not just to the bottom, to the nature preserve, but there's actually going to be several other things going on here. So up around the top of the falls, we've got 3 farms under contract, which total about 140 acres of pasture. Some of that land will be developed as housing for tourists. So if you can imagine a bowl, land that comes in, rolling hills, etc., and then it just drops off like cliffs, and that's where the falls are. So the land where it drops off, you have these amazing views into the valley. We're gonna take advantage of that, exploit that, the views, to create housing for tourists that want to stay on site. But all the rest of the land, and that might require 10 acres, depending on how many units we're talking about, right? But we're talking about developing, again, a tiny percentage of the overall thousands of acres we already have, and the many more thousands of acres that we're hoping to get if we can raise the money to make this happen. And so the rest of that 140 acres that we're not developing as housing, all environmentally sound building practices. The rest of that land will become the world's largest collection of tropical fruit trees, varieties in one place. Again, I believe that will be a significant tourist destination. And because we'll have people already coming to see the waterfalls, now we've got two things that we can offer them, right? Two separate attractions. We have another piece, which is right there, actually adjacent to where the community is going to be, but higher up, about 125 meters above the top of the falls. There's a piece that's about 7.5 hectares, about 17 acres of, again, gently rolling land. It's pretty high. Across the valley is the second highest peak in this area, and this land is almost as high as that peak. And so we're on a large peninsula here. And from this site, it's high enough that you can see water on three sides. So it's about 60 miles to the southernmost tip of this peninsula. You can see the Pacific Ocean. It's about 25 or 30 miles east and maybe about 30 or 40 miles east and around 20, 25 miles west. You can see the water through the mountain peaks all around us. It's spectacular. So we're going to create a world-class botanical garden on that site with a little boutique hotel in the midst of it, where people staying probably on the second floor will have these incredible views, both to the oceans and through the mountains, peaks, and to this spectacular botanical garden below them. That's the idea there. And there'll be much more. There'll be adventure sports. We're going to create a mountain bike park. I have a quadricycle, which is very useful here because it goes places that cars can't go. We're in the middle of nowhere here.
Amazing. Yeah, sounds like a fantastic project. Now, just a couple questions I have. Are you thinking for people to potentially be able to live there? Is this something that people could buy in as a place to live?
Yes, absolutely. Remember, the first part of this that I mentioned is an intentional community.
Right.
So we've got up to 100 sites. There are about 95 still available. Well, in fact, I should say we're starting with probably 20 sites. So we currently have about 15 sites that are going to be available. Those sites have not been defined yet. And I want to point out something that's important to understand. I've been researching intentional communities now for over 20 years. In order for them to work, especially in the tropics, large pieces of land, we have people that say, I want in, I'd like to have 10 acres of land. That doesn't work here. We're on 10 acres currently on this site. I say currently because within a couple of weeks, we're buying a 27-acre farm next door where we can plant another 8,000 or 9,000 fruit trees. But currently, the site that we're on here is 10 acres. And I've got a team of 4 guys that work full-time, and we cannot maintain the grounds. We occasionally have to bring in 2 or 3 or 4 extra guys, and we have probably a third of the site that we've even developed in any way with buildings and trails. The rest of it's just wild. And here in the tropics, where it's warm and sunny almost every day of the year, where we get 180 or so inches of rain, that's a lot. Things grow really, really fast. And so, people who think they want to have 10 acres here, they're going to spend the rest of their life with a machete in their hand trying to keep the weeds, from taking over their house. They take off for a week, they're not going to find their house. What makes much more sense is to have something much smaller. And the way intentional communities are usually set up, the lots are relatively small, but they're built around common areas that are shared by people. We're not sure yet how much I think we're going to offer options. So there might be some places where we'll be able to build around a shared field. So everyone's got a giant backyard, but it's shared by everyone. That fosters community. That's the idea. We don't want to separate ourselves. I bought my first house 35 years ago. And the first thing I did was I built a 6-foot fence around it because that was as high as the law allowed. And then I built an arbor on top to create wisteria vines that gave me another 2 feet of coverage. And I hardly ever saw my neighbors. And I was perfectly fine to have privacy. But what we're after here is creating community, which means bringing people together, not separating them. And so lots will be relatively small, but they'll be shared space and shared resources. There's a community house where there'll be at least a couple of shared meals every week, and where there could be yoga classes, lectures, movie nights. There'll be an internet station there, a lounge, so that if you don't want to put internet in your own place, no Wi-Fi, by the way, anywhere on site. We don't have Wi-Fi here. There'll be no Wi-Fi in the community. There'll be a laundry center. So you could build a tiny little place. I mean, I'm in a tiny little place now. This is where I live. You can see my bedroom. This is my small living room. There's a bathroom here. I've got a patio here. I don't need a laundry room. I have a tiny kitchen outside, but the main kitchen for the center is through the door. So, eating the way we do, we don't need much kitchen space. A little bit of counter space, a little refrigerator, a little sink, a cabinets for your plates and so forth. There's not much else you need. You won't need a laundry room because there'll be a shared laundry center. And again, this brings people together. You can go hang out while you're doing your laundry, or leave it there, or maybe even have employees that can do some of that if you don't want to deal with it yourself. A tool center. Okay, instead of everyone owning all of the shovels and picks and rakes, etc., we'll have a bunch of those for the community to share. And you use them, you bring them back, and everyone takes care of each other. We'll grow tons of fruit trees in the community, which will be community food. On your own lot, you can plant whatever you want. But there's also going to be tons of trees that belong to the community as a whole. And so there's all kinds of advantages to being part of the community. Living in a place like Costa Rica, you can go buy a piece of land relatively inexpensively. But when you're not there, you're going to have to pay someone to watch it for you. Because unfortunately, although the people here are beautiful and amazing, they look at foreigners and think they've got a lot more money than we do. We'll just take whatever we want. They can replace it. Here, in a community, we don't have that issue, right? The community will be closed to the public. And that's necessary because we're creating a tourist attraction. So we're actively bringing people onto the site. We need to make sure that only community members and their guests can actually get into that land. So the community is going to be an amazing site, and this is something people can buy into. Lots will be $50,000, but houses can be really inexpensive. We need no heating, no air. We don't have heating or air conditioning here and never need it. We don't need any insulation. The construction can be really simple. You need to stay dry, and you want to keep critters out, right? Most people here don't have screens in their windows. We do. But construction can be really, really simple, and you don't need much space because, like here, most of my space is actually outside. Concrete slab with the same tile goes out the door, and then there's a simple metal roof over it, and that's all you need because you can spend most of your time outside, right? So construction is relatively inexpensive. Being part of the community means you're going to save a lot of money on all kinds of things you don't need. And one of the things you can do is put solar panels on your little structure and have no electrical bill. So imagine having a home that you've paid for, which means you've got no mortgage, you've got no rent, you've got no utility bills, you grow your own food, okay? You could live in this community and pay very little to live. Now, still, one of the issues that came up was people would say to me, well, that sounds good, but you've got a business. You've got a way to earn a living. How am I going to earn a living in a community in the middle of nowhere? And this is one of the issues. There are some communities in Costa Rica and in Ecuador and other places. But for the most part, there are people who are kind of living off the land with very little income. It's difficult for them to find. I mean, people obviously can work online more and more, and that's going to become an increasing reality for people, and that's fantastic. But I wanted to create something that made it easy for people to earn a living. And so with this project, imagine, again, you pull into a parking area, you get out of your car, and first of all, the first thing that happens is they get out of their cars and they say, this is the most beautiful friggin' parking lot I've ever seen. Everything we do is going to be spectacularly beautiful. And they're going to get this, the whole sense of it just stepping out of their car. Then they're going to walk to, originally we'll start with one building where they buy their tickets for whichever attraction they're going to. And then we shuttle them to that place. Eventually what will happen though, as more and more people show up, and our projections are that within 10 years, we'll see 500,000 visitors per year. We believe that's completely realistic. We're currently vetting these numbers with people who know more, but I believe this is, looking at other tourist locations and what they're doing, we're going to be offering something here that is unique in the world today, let alone Costa Rica. And remember, we have the highest waterfall in Central America and about 15 more. And, you know, the largest collection of tropical fruit trees. You know, my goal is to actually wind up it with a, you know, a top 20 botanical garden. I mean, eventually I'd like to be, you know, the top 5, top 10, but that's a pretty big goal because there's spectacular gardens around the world, and it takes time to develop that. But that's the goal. So we've got these 3 major attractions, and then there'll be rock climbing and bouldering and a high adventure park. Now, if you've seen these like ropes courses, you go up in the trees on platforms. We're going to have one of those. There's going to be a mountain bike park. I started to say earlier, we're going to do trails. We've got more than 3 kilometers currently, most of the land on both sides of a river, 3 kilometers. Eventually it could be as much as 8 or more. And at the end of the valley, we're going to create a mountain bike park and a place where there are trails for quadricycles. But my quadricycle, as fun as it is to drive, it uses gasoline and it's noisy. What we're going to do is we're going to create a fleet of electric quadricycles that will be recharged with solar cells. No noise, no pollution, okay, and a lot of fun. There'll be BMX biking for those crazy people that actually want to die. We're going to create hills where you can do BMX biking. There'll be a lot of cool things going on there. And imagine a ski village. So you come in, and while you're waiting, or after you've done whatever it is you wanted to do, you've done the mountain biking, and now you're hungry. So you go to the commercial village, and there'll be a number of places that you can eat or drink or shop. There'll be boutiques, there'll be galleries. We'll have something specifically for local artisans. There are amazingly talented people around us that don't have a venue. They don't have a way to show what they're doing. I know a guy that does beautiful work with wood, sculptures and furniture, but no one knows he's there. We're going to create a place where we can bring people like that, charge them very little, have a little workshop where they can make their stuff and show it and sell it right there. We're going to create tons of jobs. It's going to be an amazing thing for the local economy. Believe it or not, with 15 employees, Tanglewood is the largest employer in the district currently. And this project is going to wind up over 10 years creating probably 300 jobs. So it's going to be an amazing project.
Amazing, yeah. Fantastic. So are you then shopping for people obviously that are interested in buying a lot, people that are interested in investment, people?
Our mutual friend Sabrina, who's currently fasting with me, actually not true. She just broke her 30-day fast a couple days ago. She was the one I think that reached out to you and said, hey, you should talk to Lauren about the project. She's already committed to living and being part of the community. And what she was thinking was we need to get the word out to let more people know about this amazing opportunity, right? So by the way, these businesses, all these little shops and boutiques and all this stuff we're talking about, you could own your own business in this place. Now, again, look, you can go to Ojancha, the town at the bottom of the mountain, close to us here, 10, 12 kilometers away, and rent a retail space. They're always available because they're always going out of business. And they're always going out of business because there's no tourism there. There are very few people, the people in Ojancha for the most part, don't have a lot of money to spend. You can go rent a space there and open a shop, but I'm not sure how well you're going to do. But imagine being in a place where we're creating something that drives hundreds of thousands of tourists to us. And they're all looking for places to eat and things to buy because they want to take stuff home. That's what people do, right? So we're creating a demand. We're creating everything in one place. I think it's an amazing opportunity. If you love cycling, you can run the shop that rents bicycles to people that want to go to the mountain bike park, as well as all the gear and clothing, etc. If you're an artist or an artisan, you can have your own gallery, right? If you like to make juices, we have someone that already wants to do a juice bar. You could set up a juice bar there. And by the way, regardless of what I said earlier about juices, this is for tourists. So we're going to be offering things that maybe aren't optimal for health, but are going to appeal to tourists, right? I truly believe it's going to be amazing. Everything is going to be organic, raw vegan. Everything we offer. There's no animal products. Clothing, I get everyone who wants to do a boutique, perfectly fine. organic fabrics only. Things that are actually good for the environment. The entire project set up in a way where we're actually improving the environment rather than destroying the environment. That's the idea.
What an awesome goal. What an awesome plan. Amazing. Amazing.
Mm. So this has actually been something, we didn't talk about it last time we spoke because we were talking specifically about fasting. This has been something I've been working on actually in here for like 25 years. But I started negotiating for the land with the big waterfall.
I think you
6 years
sketched
ago.
it a little bit to me when we first spoke, but of course you didn't have a lot of detail. You just kind of said you had some projects that you were
Right.
that you were inspired to try and generate some dollars to buy some lands. That's what you did say. That's what you did say. But
Right.
Great, you've opened up and shared a lot more about it, and it's
well, we're still
fantastically inspiring. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, we're still finalizing the information for investors.
For sure.
So if you're listening today and you're in a position where you'd like to invest in something you actually believe in, because there's all kinds of things you can invest in.
Right.
But how many of them are actually good for the planet?
Right.
But if you want to invest in something you believe in, something you think is actually good for humanity and for the planet in general.
For ourselves, for our health, for our future, for our longevity, for our, for the planet, for the world. So a conscious place where you're consciously circulating, involving yourself with other people of like minds.
That's right.
Also trying to do the same thing. So we've got a community of people that are really striving to be their best. And part of striving to be your best is having the best mindset in regards and reaction to the rest of how we interact with our planet.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a couple things I think may be important enough to add in the time we have left. I've got a lecture here in 10 minutes, so I don't have too much more time. But this isn't just about health. Again, this is about maximizing our potential. So this included in this project is anything that is not harmful or destructive to the planet and is actually good for human beings and for the human soul and spirit. And so, for instance, one of the other benefits of being in the community is there's a community library. I have quite a library here, but
so you can get an education out to everybody, a universal education that's transparent and truthful and honest. And
exactly. We'll have. I have a number of clients. I was first motivated this because I have a lot of clients that are actually serious artists. Some pretty not super famous, but very successful, incredibly talented musicians, for one thing. And I thought, how cool would it be? So I mentioned we have the highest waterfall in Central America. There's a second waterfall about 175 meters away, and they're on two different faces, like perpendicular to each other, and they meet at the bottom in a pool. It's amazing. It's an incredible sight. Imagine a recording studio with a glass wall. So musicians are up there making music while looking at these waterfalls in the jungle. Incredible. And while they're there, part of the contract is, part of the deal is, while they're there, they perform. We build an amphitheater, and there's a performance. There's a concert. So we'll have live music. At this amphitheater, we'll be able to produce dance and theater productions as well. We'll have an artist in residence program. There'll be writing workshops and our kinds of art workshops, etc. Because these are things that actually are good for people, that make people feel good. There'll be dance. In fact, there'll be a number of schools. I've mentioned that everything we've done here is based on permaculture principles, and I'm a certified permaculture instructor. But we're going to have a permaculture school located on site. So you can go study in a classroom setting in New York City or Los Angeles or San Francisco or anywhere on the planet now. You might go take a 2 or 3 week permaculture course. But how cool would it be to come do it in Costa Rica, where you can actually get your hands dirty and get on the land?
Real life.
Exactly.
Real life permaculture.
Exactly. Yeah. There'll be a yoga teacher training school. There'll be a raw vegan culinary institute. Because again, you can go to Northern California. There's an amazing school there started by friends of mine It's a beautiful place, but it's cold and it's wet there most of the year. And you can stay there for a month at a time.
California is cold and wet. You got to come up to Canada.
this is northern California. This is northern California. You know,
perspective.
You could go there, or you could go to Costa Rica, where everything there's a whole village, a whole place set up for people that eat this way, that live this way. Yoga classes and a spa, an athletic center, on and on. There's tons of possibilities.
You're talking about stepping outside of the mainstream population and the same old thing, and going somewhere where you're being very conscious with yourself, with your dollars, with your gifts, and with your voice, and the rest of your life.
That's right. That's right. So coming back to your question, yes, this is very much a place where someone can live. Right now, there's an opportunity because we're looking to raise some money now. We're going to need to raise money for a while, but the lots will be $50,000. Initially, that's the price. Right now, if someone's ready to put up their money, they can get in for $40,000, 20% off. Alternatively,
so they're getting a mortgage for this? Is that what that is? Is there a way, like, you arrange mortgages, or do they just have $40,000 kind of cash right now?
They need to come up with $40,000 cash.
Right.
Yeah. The other possibility is they pay $10,000 down, and they get a mortgage, and they pay the balance off, but it's a relatively short loan. It'll probably be 5 years. We're looking to have it paid off. So there's those two options. And of course, if someone can go get a mortgage on their own, if they want to, and pay it off in 15, 20, 30 years if they want to. That's up to each person. We're trying to make it easy for people that may not have the means right now to do that. If they can arrange to have, if someone's still working, for instance, they might be able to put up, 10 grand a year and pay the thing off, and then it's done. It's paid for. And then they can build and do whatever they want with it. Along the guidelines.
So they can get into a payment plan sort of situation with you then?
That's right. And if they do it that way, again, it's a $10,000 down payment, and they pay the full $50,000 price, or they pay $40,000 up front. So those are a couple options,
right.
That we're offering. But the other alternative is to come in as an investor. There are many people that may be listening that, for whatever reason, may have no interest in moving to Costa Rica. I can't imagine why anyone would not want to live here, but I understand that people are where they are, their families, their businesses, their jobs, whatever it might be. But some of those people might still be in a position where they want to invest in something they believe in, and we are looking for investors. This entire project,
or invest in something that they could come away as a vacation place. Like, would there be opportunities for people to vacation here?
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a number of different options. We will, over time, be creating a variety of different housing options,
visiting
campsites.
options, right?
Exactly. So, for people of all budgets,
retreat visits, healing visits, obviously.
I mentioned a boutique hotel. There's going to be luxurious, again, still environmentally sound, not huge and etc. But beautiful, luxurious suites for people where budget's not so much of an issue, and they want the highest quality and they want to be taken care of. We'll offer that. From there, there'll be a number of different options, all the way to the guy that says, look, I'm on a tight budget. They could spend $25 maybe and stay in a tent. It's going to be possible for anyone.
Right. That's the way to do it, Lauren. You got it right, man.
Well, we're still putting it all together, but the idea is to create something that's really good for everyone and good for the environment.
Fantastic. The Melon Man here had a great talk today with Lauren Lockman, who's got a fantastic eco-friendly community coming together in Costa Rica. Super exciting. I would love to come down for a visit. Hopefully you'll invite the Melon Man down.
Well, one of the things we could do now, John, we've talked about this before, is organize a retreat, bring a group of people down.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, well,
I would love to do that.
It's a spectacularly beautiful location. We have people all the time who come here who are blown away by where we are now, which is where we're currently offering. And then, of course, later on, we'll be offering more retreat options at the other site.
Perfect.
John, it was great to spend the time with you.
Thank you for sharing with me, Lauren.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay, buddy.